Welcome to my channel Soft Feminine. I wasn't supposed to see myself like that. It was meant to be quick, 5 minutes max. Just enough time to prove to myself that the thought in my head was stupid, that curiosity was harmless. The apartment was silent, curtains half drawn, the kind of quiet that makes every small sound feel louder than it should. My hands trembled as I pulled the outfit over my body. The fabric was softer than I expected. Lighter. It slid over my skin like it already knew where it belonged. I avoided the mirror at first, heart pounding, breathing shallow. My mind screamed at me to stop, to rip it off, to pretend none of this was happening. But something stronger pushed me forward. One step, then another. When I finally looked up, my breath caught so sharply it hurt. That wasn't the man I knew. The person staring back at me had the same eyes, but everything else felt wrong and terrifyingly right at the same time. The way the outfit reshaped my silhouette. The way my shoulders didn't look as broad. The way my stance softened without me realizing it. I leaned closer to the mirror. "Is this a joke?" I whispered. My reflection didn't answer. It just stared back, calm, almost curious, like she was the one examining me. Heat rushed to my face. Shame followed immediately after. "What the hell are you doing? This isn't you. Take it off.
Now."
But my hands didn't move. Instead, I adjusted the fabric at my waist. Just a little. My heart slammed against my ribs as the image changed again. Subtle, but enough to make my stomach flip. I felt exposed. Vulnerable.
Seen.
And beneath all that fear, something bloomed quietly in my chest.
Excitement.
The kind I hadn't felt in years. I straightened my posture, then laughed nervously when the sound came out softer than I expected. I tilted my head, watching how the light caught my face differently. For the first time, the mirror didn't feel like an enemy. It felt like a door. And I was standing right in front of it, terrified to open it and even more terrified of turning away. I swallowed hard. Just this once, I told myself. Just to understand. But deep down, I already knew. This wasn't just once. The next morning, I dressed like nothing had happened. Same jeans, same shirt, same shoes by the door. I even practiced my usual neutral expression in the mirror. Jaw set, shoulders squared, nothing soft, nothing questionable. If I looked normal enough, maybe the feeling from last night would fade. It didn't. The moment I stepped outside, everything felt louder, brighter. My body felt unfamiliar, like I was wearing a costume I couldn't take off. Every movement felt observed, even when no one was looking. On the bus, I caught my reflection in the window. For half a second, my heart jumped, expecting her again. Instead, it was just me. And somehow, that disappointed me. At work, the office buzzed the way it always did. Keyboards clicking, phones ringing, muffled conversations drifting over cubicle walls. But I couldn't focus. My mind kept replaying the mirror. The fabric. The way my posture had changed without permission. "Hey," Mark said, leaning over the divider. "You good?" I looked up too fast.
Yeah.
"Why?" He shrugged. "You're quiet. Even for you." I forced a smile. "Just tired." The lie tasted bitter. As I walked to the break room, I became painfully aware of how I moved. Was my walk different? Was I holding my arms too close to my body? I caught myself softening my steps and immediately corrected it, heart racing like I'd almost been caught doing something illegal. In the restroom, I locked myself into a stall and exhaled slowly. "Get a grip," I told myself. "You're overthinking." But when I stood at the sink and met my own eyes again, something felt off. My reflection looked restrained, like someone holding their breath for too long. A woman at the sink beside me glanced over, smiled politely, then looked away. My chest tightened. Did she see something? Back at my desk, my phone buzzed. A message from my sister. "Sis, dinner this weekend? Mom keeps asking about you." My fingers hovered over the screen. Family meant questions. Questions meant noticing. And suddenly, the idea of sitting across from them felt impossible. "Me, I'll let you know." I stared at the message after sending it, realizing how much had changed in less than 24 hours. That night, the apartment felt heavier, like it remembered. I stood in front of my closet, staring at the door. My heart pounded harder than it had in the morning. I knew exactly what was inside. And I knew that the longer I pretended everything was normal, the louder that quiet part of me would become. My hand reached for the handle before my mind could stop it. I locked the door. Not because someone was coming, but because I needed the sound. That click told my body it was safe to breathe. The apartment wrapped around me in silence, the kind that feels protective instead of lonely. I stood there for a moment, back against the door, eyes closed. "This is just for me," I whispered. The closet door opened easier this time. The outfit waited exactly where I'd left it, hanging like it hadn't moved at all, like it hadn't changed anything. I took it down slowly, running my fingers over the fabric again. It still felt unreal that something so simple could carry this much weight. Changing felt different tonight. Last time, my hands shook from fear. This time, they shook from anticipation. I undressed carefully, folding my clothes instead of dropping them on the floor. Each piece felt like I was setting aside a layer of expectation, how I was supposed to stand, speak, exist. When the outfit slid over my body, I inhaled sharply. The fabric hugged me more naturally now, settling into place like it recognized me. I adjusted the straps, smoothed the sides, then froze, heart pounding, as the mirror caught my movement. I looked intentional. I stepped closer, studying myself like a stranger I was desperate to understand. My shoulders relaxed without me telling them to. My hips shifted subtly, automatically. I raised a hand to my face, tracing the line of my jaw. "What are you doing to me?" I murmured. Curiosity pushed me further. I opened the small makeup bag I'd bought impulsively, no eye contact with the cashier, no explanation to anyone. My hands hovered, unsure. I started simple. Foundation. A little blush. My reflection softened with every small change. When I added eyeliner, my breath caught. My eyes looked bigger, brighter, expressive. I swallowed. Okay, wow. I practiced smiling. Different ones. A shy smile. A confident one. I laughed quietly when one felt too much, too dramatic. But another, gentler, natural, made my chest tighten. That one felt real. I tried speaking. Just a few words at first. "Hi. Hello." My voice wobbled, cracked, embarrassed me. I laughed at myself, then tried again, slower, softer. I listened, adjusted. When it finally came out smooth, my stomach fluttered. I turned sideways, then fully around. The person in the mirror wasn't pretending. She was discovering herself. I sat on the edge of the bed, smoothing the fabric over my thighs, feeling the way the outfit moved when I shifted. Every sensation felt amplified: the brush of fabric, the warmth of the room, the sound of my own breathing. Time disappeared. At some point, I realized I was no longer asking why. I was asking how long I'd been holding this in. When I finally changed back, the silence felt louder. My reflection returned to normal, but it felt temporary now. Like a pause, not an ending. As I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, one thought looped in my mind. What would it feel like if someone else saw her? The idea terrified me, and excited me even more. I stood in front of the door for a long time, not pacing, not panicking, just standing there, hand hovering inches from the handle, heart beating so hard I could feel it in my throat. The outfit felt different this time, not just fabric, but a declaration. I kept checking myself in the mirror, half expecting confidence to vanish if I looked away too long. "You can still stop," I whispered. The room didn't argue. I took a deep breath, opened the door, and stepped into the hallway. The click of the lock behind me echoed louder than it should have. My body went rigid, every muscle tense, like I just crossed some invisible line. The hallway lights hummed softly. No one was there. Okay, just breathe. The elevator ride felt endless. I watched the numbers change, hands clasped together to keep them from shaking. When the doors opened to the street level, my stomach flipped so hard I thought I might be sick. The city didn't pause for me. Cars passed. People talked. Someone laughed somewhere behind me. Life went on, completely unaware that my world had just tilted on its axis. I stepped outside. The air felt cooler against my skin. My steps were cautious at first, like the ground might give way. I kept my gaze forward, afraid that eye contact would somehow expose me. Every sound made me flinch. Then it happened. A woman walking past glanced at me. Just a glance. Then she smiled. It was quick, polite, normal. My chest tightened, so suddenly I had to stop walking.
She didn't stare. Didn't double take.
Didn't question. She just saw me. She sees her. The realization sent a wave of warmth through my body. I walked again, this time a little steadier. My shoulders loosened. My steps smoothed out. I became aware of how naturally my body moved when I stopped fighting it. At a cafe, I hesitated outside, staring through the glass. My reflection stared back, nervous, hopeful, alive. You can leave, I told myself. Instead, I walked in. The bell above the door chimed. The barista looked up. What can I get you? My heart slammed. This was it. My voice. I swallowed. A latte, please. It came out softer than my usual voice, but not fake.
Just mine.
She nodded without hesitation. Anything else? No, thank you. That was it. No confusion. No judgment. I took the cup with shaking hands and sat by the window, staring down at the foam like it was proof of something impossible. I was doing it. Outside, people passed. Some glanced. Some didn't. One man held the door open for me as he left, smiling politely.
Thanks, I said.
My voice didn't shake. By the time I walked home, the fear hadn't disappeared, but it had changed. It was no longer a wall. It was a thrill, a reminder that I was alive in a way I'd never allowed myself to be before. Back inside my apartment, I leaned against the door and laughed softly, half disbelief, half relief. I really did that, I whispered. And for the first time, the idea of going back scared me more than moving forward. The next time, I didn't hesitate at the door. I still felt the nerves, my heart still raced, but they no longer controlled my hands. Getting ready became a ritual instead of a secret. Music played softly while I chose outfits, not just what fit, but what felt right. I noticed patterns in myself, colors I gravitated toward, fabrics that made me feel lighter, silhouettes that made me stand taller. I started looking forward to weekends. Saturday mornings were hers. I took my time with makeup now, learning what worked for my face. I stopped copying tutorials and started listening to my instincts. When something felt wrong, I wiped it off without panic. When something felt right, I smiled at myself without guilt. The mirror stopped feeling like a test. It became a conversation. I went farther from home. A bookstore across town. A quiet park where sunlight filtered through trees and warmed my skin. I sat on benches, crossed my legs without thinking, watched people pass by without shrinking into myself. Once, a little girl tugged on her mother's hand and pointed at me. Mom, she's pretty. The words hit me so unexpectedly that my throat tightened. The mother followed her gaze, smiled apologetically, then smiled at me too. Sorry, kids, she said. It's okay, I replied, my voice steady. I walked away before the tears could fall. With every outing, something inside me shifted. I stopped monitoring every movement. I stopped asking whether I was doing it right. The fear of being discovered gave way to the comfort of being seen. I noticed how strangers responded when I relaxed, how energy changes when you stop apologizing for existing. Conversations flowed easier. Smiles came faster. Even silence felt less threatening. One afternoon, I tried on a different outfit than usual, bolder, brighter. I almost changed back, almost retreated into safety. But then I caught my reflection in a store window and felt it again.
Pride.
Not loud, not defiant, just quiet certainty. Back home, when I changed into my old clothes, they felt wrong. Heavy, like armor I no longer needed. I stood in front of the mirror, dressed as the person everyone knew, and felt like I was the one in costume now. That realization scared me. because comfort had turned into truth, and truth demands decisions. Lying in bed that night, I stared at the ceiling, heart racing, not from fear this time, but from inevitability. I couldn't keep her locked away forever. Sooner or later, someone would notice. Sooner or later, I'd have to choose. The tension didn't explode all at once. It crept in slowly, sideways comments, longer looks, pauses in conversations that lasted a second too long. I started noticing how people watch me now like they were trying to solve a puzzle they hadn't been given all the pieces to. At work, my manager asked to see me. "Just a quick chat," he said, too casually. The door closed behind me with a soft click that made my stomach drop. I sat across from him, hands folded tightly in my lap, heart pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. "You've been different lately," he said carefully. "Not in a bad way. Just distracted. More confident, actually. But also like you're carrying something." I opened my mouth, closed it. My thoughts collided into each other. "I don't want to pry," he added, softer now. "But if something's going on, I'd rather you not feel like you have to hide it." Hide it. The word echoed in my chest. My voice cracked. I stopped, took a breath, tried again. "I'm figuring out who I am." Silence filled the room. He studied me, then nodded slowly. "That takes courage," he said. "Whatever that looks like for you." When I left his office, my legs felt weak. Relief washed over me, but it was quickly replaced by something heavier. If work had noticed, family definitely would. Dinner with my family came sooner than I expected. I almost canceled twice. But something inside me refused to run anymore. My sister met me at the door first. She looked at me for a long moment, really looked at me. "You okay?" she asked quietly. I nodded, though my hands shook. "I need to tell you something." We sat on her bed like we used to when we were kids, knees touching, the world temporarily shut out. The words spilled out faster than I could organize them. Fear, confusion, the mirror, the clothes, the way it felt like breathing for the first time. When I finished, my chest ached from holding my breath. She didn't speak right away. Then she reached over and squeezed my hand. "I've always known there was more to you," she said. "I'm just glad you're letting yourself find it." Tears blurred my vision. Later that night, alone again, I stood in front of the mirror, fully dressed as her. Not hidden, not rushed, not apologetic. Two versions of me stared back. The one the world knew, and the one who felt alive. My hands pressed against the glass. "I can't keep switching," I whispered. The choice was clear now, and terrifying. I could keep her as a secret, safe but suffocating. Or I could step forward and risk everything. I straightened my shoulders. For the first time, fear wasn't louder than my truth. The morning I decided to stop hiding, the mirror didn't scare me anymore. I stood there fully dressed as her, calm, steady, breathing normally, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I was asking permission. I wasn't rehearsing excuses or preparing explanations. I was just present. I walked outside like that. Not as a test. Not as a secret experiment. But as a choice. My steps were slower, deliberate. I held my head high, not defiantly but honestly. Every sound, every glance, every breath felt sharper, clearer. I wasn't scanning for danger anymore. I was allowing myself to be seen. At work, conversations paused.
A few people looked surprised.
One coworker smiled. Another nodded like nothing had changed at all. My manager met my eyes as I passed. "Good morning," he said simply. "Good morning," I replied. That was it. No confrontation. No collapse. Just reality adjusting itself around my truth. Later that day, my sister texted me a single heart emoji. Nothing else. I smiled at my phone like an idiot. That evening, I met friends I'd been avoiding for weeks. My hands trembled when I arrived, but the fear didn't own me anymore. One of them blinked, then laughed softly.
"Okay, wow.
You look happy." "I am," I said. And I meant it. Something unlocked after that. I stopped dividing my life into before and after, secret and public. I started living in one continuous, honest line. Not everyone understood. A few people drifted away quietly, but the ones who stayed, they saw me, and that was enough. Scene 8. The reflection that finally felt right. Now, when I stand in front of the mirror, I don't flinch. I see strength in the softness, courage in the vulnerability. I see someone who walked through fear instead of around it. Someone who learned that empowerment doesn't roar, it breathes steadily and stands its ground. I didn't lose myself. I found her. And maybe if you're watching this and feeling that ache, that pull you can't explain, I want you to know something. You're not broken. You're not alone. And you're not late. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is let yourself be seen exactly as you are. Because the moment you stop hiding from the mirror, that's when your real life begins.